So this thing, oh God, oh God. This is avoid approach, avoid approach, avoid approach. Um, I am going to be holding classes in my secret membership, which I'll tell you a little bit later, is just basically what you're going to see here. So I'm giving you a chance to experience it before you actually join, but it's $25 a month. And it is once a month classes, and we're going to be studying this book. And
Elizabeth,
yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Someone just typed that they can't hear anything.
they can't hear anything.
Yep. I'm sorry to
Okay.
interrupt.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can people raise their hand or virtual hand if they can hear me? Okay. Okay. So most people can hear me. It may be something to do on your end. Does anybody know? Thank you. That was also a good idea. Put it in the chat. Does anybody have any pointers for somebody who can't hear that they could put in the chat or share out loud?
You might want to check your source for audio.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So try that. Make sure your volume's up, make sure your mute is off. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all for your support. It's a group effort. It takes a village. So hopefully that will help you. Okay. I'm gonna start, thank you, and you can lower your hands now unless you have a question. If you have a question for me during this, you can unmute. But let me go ahead and kind of introduce, let me say one thing. Okay, so this is a webinar, and if you're familiar with online marketing and all this, it's supposed to be a high ticket item, and I'm going to give you an exclusive price because you're here. I don't do any of that. I don't want to do any of that. I'm not interested in doing any of that. I try to keep my prices just really reasonable and low. And so it's the price. Like, so today, if you join, this is the price. It'll be this price for a while. Maybe sometime in the future it might go up, but it's not going to go up by much because it's kind of it is important for me for people to have access to this information. And yeah, so don't expect a sales pitch because that's not what I'm going to give you today. But I am going to talk about it a little bit more later. So this is just for real. This is almost exactly like a class I would teach in my membership. And the reason I like to do the membership, for me again, and anybody who is in the membership that's here, because I notice that there's people that are already in the membership that are here, which thank you for being here. You can, if you want to say like, yeah, that's accurate, or, it does feel safe, but for me, it's safety over everything. And so I try to keep the community really safe with really healthy boundaries and guidelines just to protect everyone, because this work is hard. And I don't know about you, but with CPTSD, no, of course I do know about you. I imagine you all are like this. Like when somebody wants to teach me some shit, I can't help it. I'm hyper vigilant about, I'm just waiting for them to show me that they're dangerous. It's not my fault. It's just happening. And so, so that's what the boundaries and the guidelines and all that are for, is so that it'll help us continue to reinforce that, oh, this is a safe place and I might be able to heal. I might be able to participate or heal in this place because it's safe. And when mistakes are made, because mistakes will be made, because human beings are involved, then we work on trying to make it right or trying to fix it. Yeah, so there's that. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up my script for today and kind of just give you a heads up of what's going to be happening in this class. So that's always good to know, like what's going to happen, so we can know what to expect. So your body keeps the score, BFF. That's what this is. And I, the title popped in my mind a long time ago because I thought, like, that's what I fucking need. Like, I need a BFF that will take me through this stuff in a safe, down to earth way that will explain it to me. Even though I am a therapist, like, I also I have CPTSD. So I just need this stuff explained to me in a way where I can apply it and actually live it, so I can actually heal these things. So that's how that name came. So we're going to be each other's BFFs as we get through this, and then you'll find out in just a minute why the BFF has another reason. Well, I'm going to teach you today. So I've already told you to protect your anonymity. Again, that's to keep you safe over everything. I am a licensed professional counselor. I have a license, I have a graduate degree in counseling. But the reason I'm here, this is not therapy. This isn't therapy. The reason I'm here is I am sharing my experience, strength, and hope as someone who has CPTSD, who had, I used to completely hate myself. I used to think I was a waste of space, disgusting, hideous, trash, lazy, all the things. And I don't think that shit anymore. That's not to say my life is great or perfect. A lot of times it is, but CPT it just exists. And as he tells us in this book, it compromises the brain. It compromises our ability to feel alive. And my whole goal of healing my CPTSD, is so I can just have more experiences of feeling alive without the oppression of the trauma, of the self-hate, of the imposter syndrome, of the self-sabotage, and all the things, lack of self-care, lack of, living my trauma responses as opposed to living. And living my trauma responses, even though, quote unquote, the danger has passed. But unfortunately with CPTSD, it's like I carry the danger in my own brain, Okay, so let me say these other things so everybody knows what's going on. No, it's not time to install a fucking update. No, thank you, sir. Okay. So I'm teaching from experience, strength, and hope. I'm also a coach. So that's what I do. Sometimes a question or wants to know actually how to apply something that I'm teaching. But it's really important to know that this is educational and just from my experience, strength, and hope. And take what you need and leave the rest. Not everything is for you. So just you are the arbiter of what is helpful and what's not. Did I freeze? Am I okay? Somebody give me a sign I'm okay or not. Okay, thank you. Okay, I do not see the chat. So I hyper focused on teaching. So I'm not looking at the chat unless by accident my eyes catch something and I see it. So if something's going on, thank you, Ashley. If something's going on, just unmute and let me know. And if you need to get in touch with me afterwards, just email me at Elizabeth at advancedbitches.com or DM me on my Instagram. And that's a way that you can get a question to me or, let me know something that you need to know. So I don't see DMs that come to me. Right now, I don't have an assistant to help me, like a co-host or anything here. So, and I don't in my memberships, but if the membership grows, obviously I would have someone here to monitor everything. So just so you know, I'm not trying to ignore you if you're trying to get in touch with me, but also you can just unmute and say, hey, like somebody did earlier, which I'm very grateful for. Okay. So, here's what we're going to be talking about today. Here's what today's going to consist of is why we buy trauma books but can't read them. What's going on? What's up with that? Why the body keeps the score. And I'm going to give you two tools, actual tools that you can take with you today that are helpful to me, and an invitation to join the secret membership too, which is what I call my membership program, where I teach this. Okay, so the first tool, let's just get a tool. Let's just take one right now. This isn't original to me. I just learned this and I found it to be very helpful. And I just thought it was interesting that the acronym is the same as BFF. So, and we love an acronym. And if you listen to my podcast, so do cult leaders. Anyway, so BFF, I'm going to say something now I was going to say later, but to me, so you know, the whole point of my healing my CPTSD isn't to be a good person, isn't to be the best healed one. It isn't even to be advanced. I just happen to be advanced. Anybody who does their CPTSD work, who to heal from that, to recover, is already advanced. You know, it's nothing to strive for. You just, if you're here, you're advanced. Thank you. Like, that's just the way it is. So it's about seeing how much more Elizabeth I can be, which is just another way of saying that I want to take as much, I want to live less from my trauma compromised brain than, and actually just live. And so what do I mean when I say recovery? I'm just trying to recover myself with a capital S. Like, I am just trying to recover myself. If you've been in my classes before, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, but the reason we don't do self-care is not because we don't know how to care for people. Like, we 100% know how to do that. We know how to do it so well. But since we don't have a self, which that's one of the things that trauma takes away from us, takes away our autonomy, that then what is there to care for? There's nothing to care for because I don't have a self, so there's nothing to care for. And then the body keeps the score if we don't do that. Like, we don't know how to have self-esteem. What is self-esteem? It's feeling, it's having a positive feeling about something that we've accomplished. Well, guess what? Our trauma doesn't let us celebrate our accomplishments. It doesn't even, and the things that we've accomplished, it looks down upon them. It says that they're nothing, or anybody could have done that. Like, it doesn't let us have anything. And so for me, the recovery of myself enables to live this self-actualized life. Like, do you know how many times in school, like getting, you know, like seeing Maslow's hierarchy, self-actualization. It's like, yeah, oh my God, that sounds great. And it's not till like 15 years later do I realize, oh, I can't be self-actualized because I don't have a self. Like, I can't, you know, I'm stuck on, you remember the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So on the bottom one, safety and security, I never feel safe. So of course I can't self-actualize. So that's what I mean when I say recovery. I'm trying to recover self. I'm trying to, you know, get Elizabeth back. Okay, so why can't we read trauma books? Oh, the BFF. Sorry, I forgot the tool. Okay, BFF. So trying to recover myself. So what is a quick way that I can try to access myself? If I have lost my mind, if I have thought like, if I have lost my mind to trauma, like if I have, like, you know what I need to do? I need to do a challenge. This is a great idea, or I need to do this new food plan, or I need to, like, it's just like, you know what? Is that you, or is that your trauma compromised brain? Let me check. So one of the ways I can get back to authentic self, or to self, or whatever you want to call it, to Elizabeth, to who I really am, is BFF. So breathe. I know it's annoying. People tell me to breathe, and it's just like, okay. But unfortunately, this is one of the ways. Okay, so breathe. It's like, okay, so let me breathe. Why don't we all do that? Just a deep inhale through the nose and then out through the mouth. There's just something about that exchange that can get us back into the present moment. It can get us back to ourself. F, find your feet. Okay, so this is another clue, like the body keeping the score. We're just kind of try to be embodied. So where are our feet? So what does it feel like? Like, can you move your feet? Like, so a minute ago, you were not aware of your feet, but now you are. Unless you were in pain, you probably noticed them, but find your feet. So breathe, find your feet. And then F, the other F is feel your body. So when I first heard this, I'm like, what? Like, what do you, okay, great. They actually meant feel it. And I was like, oh, and there's something about, so I want you to feel your body right now. Like, just go ahead and feel a part of your body. And just notice how you're just a little bit more present than you might have been a minute ago. So that is a tool that can bring you closer to back to self, and also there's no way of doing any of this wrong. These are just practice. These are tools. Some tools work for some people and work better for some people than they do for others. And I want to tell you that I am a person who is not interested in body work. Like, I'm not interested in BFF. I'm not interested in breathing. I'm not interested in finding my feet. I'm not interested in feeling my body. No, let me read another book. Let me ponder a quote. I will do anything to stay disembodied. So I just want you to know, if that's you, like I am, we got this, like I'm with you. But this is for us, this is a new getting outside of our comfort zone to do some of this embodied work. Okay, so that's a tool. That's a tool to help bring you back to self, and they're annoying, and unfortunately, it's annoying when they work. Okay, so why can't we read these books? Why the fuck? Like, I am the queen of buying a book and then putting it away. Like, oh, good, it came from Amazon. This is fantastic. Okay, great. Well, and then I'll leave it like on the counter, and then eventually it'll just be put away. And here's why, which is also why I'm disembodied. I am a dissociative bitch. I am a freeze mode bitch. Those are two. Freeze mode is a trauma response. And so it's like, look, I'm going to heal myself. I found out about this book. I'm going to do this shit. And it's like, but why can't I read it? And then because trauma, we beat ourselves up for not reading it. So it's a trauma response. That makes complete sense. Do you know how hard this information is to take in? Like, it is a nightmare. So that's one reason. For those of you who have bought it and already read it, and somehow you're still here, it could be flight mode. So I heard the and let me read it, and now we're done, and put it away. We intellectualized it. We went through it, and then we didn't, we may have learned some interesting tidbits, but were we able to embody the information? Were we able to take in the information and use it to actually help us with our CPTSD? So this is daunting. This is like, I would read, like, it's like, read the part where he says, like in the prologue, we now know that trauma compromises the brain that communicates the physical embodied feeling of being alive. Page 3. I'm like, I need to go lay down. Like, I can't, like, what? It's daunting. And it's like, for me, it's like there's two different parts of my brain. Like, I want to learn this stuff, but then there's all this unconscious that is trying to protect us from this. Because the thing is, if we're going to learn this, we actually have to acknowledge we have it. That's hard. And we also have to acknowledge there's pain. There's pain in us behind every sentence in this book. And that, to think that we could just like read a book and like pretend that we're not doing something really huge and major is why it's just really, really hard. So so what we're doing here, your body keeps the score, BFF, what we're being for each other is we say, yes, this is daunting, yes, this is hard, and how can we focus on problem solving to get the information we need to get to the other side of this? And when I say other side of this, I could mean trauma, or I could mean specifically get to the other side of imposter syndrome, because my theory on imposter syndrome is that it is trauma. My theory on self-sabotage is that's not a thing either. It's trauma. Just think, self-sabotage. Trauma sabotages the self. That's its point. Like, that's the whole point of it. And so we're not sabotaging, self-sabotaging. We have CPTSD, and we just need to heal it. And that's it. That's what I'm fascinated by, and all I'm interested in. I'm not interested. I'm actually interested in change. And so, okay, so this is something I got from Stephanie. What's her last name? Stephanie Fu, I think her name. She wrote a CPTSD memoir. Yes, thank you. CPTSD memoir. And just the fact that educating ourselves about trauma is triggering. It is triggering. So it is a trigger. This triggers our trauma. Taking in the information triggers our trauma. Let's see, because the information can, this is a quote from her book, elicit shame, guilt, helplessness, hopelessness, and overwhelm. Even worse, when we attempt the new patterns and behaviors and fail, we blame ourselves when all it means is that we just needed more support or more safety. We just needed a tool that actually fucking worked. That's my part of that quote, I think. I don't think that's from her book. But that's the cuckoo crazy part, is that it's like learning about this stuff is actually in and of itself triggering, and that it elicits shame in us, shame that we have it, shame that we're not better by now, whatever we're going to be ashamed about it will want to elicit that. Okay, another reason why these books are hard to read, why we can't read them on our own, is, that's really funny that this happened, dissociated real quick. Societal and family messages, unconscious or conscious, that don't want us to get better. Homeostasis, psychological homeostasis is a thing, and that it's like, I knew how to do life with my eating disorder. It wasn't great. It was pretty miserable, but I knew how to do it. I knew that I had something that helped me cope with all that. It was killing me, but it was working. And so one day you come along, and I believe that all substance abuse, why is it there? To medicate trauma. Boom. Um, so it's like, okay, let me take away this eating disorder, and now I'm going to have to deal with all this pain. I'm going to have to deal with and the people that were in my life that liked the Elizabeth that was coping in that way, that was acting out, was self-medicating or whatever. Like, if I decide to start taking care of myself, that's problematic for them. Like, they got a lot from me. And so they give us unconscious messages, family members and society gives us unconscious digs, or a lot of us are afraid to heal our fawn trauma response, that our family won't love us if we don't do all the stuff that we do for them. um and so the messages are about, no, 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 you're fine, stay where you are, stay where you are. Another trauma book, um it's called Trauma and Recovery, and she coined CPTSD. She did. Love her. So Judith Herman. And Judith Herman's quote is on the front of this book, that she recommended. But the whole first chapter of this book is the title of the first chapter of her book is called A Forgotten History. And it talks about all the studies done in the past, back to Freud, before then, that understanding that trauma is a thing. And there's a story in there about Freud talking about, like, all his hysterical clients, all the women coming in with hysteria, and finding out, like, almost all of them were sexually abused as children, and then him starting to come out with that information, and society is like, that's a no, 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 no. Stop it, we don't want to hear any of this. And so his popularity started to decrease, and so he just started saying it's their fault. Women are hysterical for no reason. It's their fault. They're crazy. They're bad. They're wrong, whatever. So paraphrasing, obviously. But I find this forgotten history, it occurs what's so crazy is it's still happening. In the last DSM, they did not include complex PTSD. They did not, PTSD still in there, but complex trauma over time is not included, because there wasn't something like, I thought I read the scent of it, like, why not to put it in? There wasn't quite enough information about it. It's like, sir, have you seen the ACEs scores? Like, what? So there's a societal desire for us to forget that we have this. And then there's family dynamics that want us to forget that we have this, because they don't want us to heal it. And then there is our own desire to forget about this, and to go back to the status quo and go back to our old roles. And so that is another reason why that, reading a book like this and learning and living it, can be seen to a family system as betrayal. Like, you are betraying our family. I've gone from being a hero to a scapegoat in my family. It's just the way that it is. It's not fun. I miss, I got perks of that role, but those perks were also killing me. So this is better for me, because I get to be more Elizabeth. And, so it's not without cost. And so just know, like, the learning about these things opens up these possibilities for you. Okay. Another reason it's hard to read is lack of support. It's like, again, I need to talk to somebody about this. I need to, how is it for you today? Like, is your life also a shit show, but you're also doing great? And isn't that weird? It must be CPTSD, like, just need a mirror, just and somebody saying that it's okay to heal, or somebody else saying, like, you know what? I gave up the hero role in my family, and it's pretty great. You know, just to hear like it is like, oh, well, good for you, not me yet, but maybe. But you saw somebody who's willing to do it. And I just also want to say, like, anything that is in your highest good is also in everyone else's highest good. Like anything that's really healthy and good for you, by definition, is really healthy for other people. They just aren't going to agree with reasons, maybe many reasons why, besides the family giving you unconscious
Okay, Elizabeth, you're going in and out.
Oh, shoot, I forgot. But as people who are already in the membership know, these things tend to come back to me. I had a client who told me, "Don't worry, you'll remember." It's like, oh, you. Oh, she's like, "You always remember by the end of the session." I was like, "This is embarrassing." Also, hashtag trauma, a dissociative moment. Anyway, okay, so another reason is to acknowledge that if you're here, you are already on board with the fact that shit went down, and that that's all you have to acknowledge. We don't have to call anybody in our families bad or wrong or fucked up or narcissist. Like, we don't have to do that. If we don't have to call them toxic, we don't have to do any of that. All we have to do is, can you say shit went down in my childhood? And if you're here, you acknowledge that. You acknowledge that some shit went down, and whatever, it wasn't good for you. You know, it just wasn't good for you, and that's just that's fine. So okay, let's see. One second. Okay, I've already said that. Okay, so again, the overarching reason for this class is so we can take what we need from the book, use it to actually give us tools and insights that will help us heal and change. Oh, I remember. See, one of the reasons that people don't want us to heal is because they don't want to look at their shit. And they don't want to see that they've got this fucking work to do. They're not interested in finding out that their brains are compromised by trauma. They don't want to do this. This is advanced, hard work, and it is a quest to heal that must be chosen. It must be chosen, which is why fawns, codependents here, know why all of the stuff that we tried to help other people get better doesn't work, because they didn't choose it. We wanted it for them. So of course they wouldn't want us to remember. Of course they wouldn't want us to do this stuff. Of course they're not interested in us reading this book. Okay. We heal this, we can be the breaker of cycles, and we can make an impact on our genogram. There's all kind of good things that'll come to lessen generational trauma, basically being a living superhero, But again, and it's rare work, and most people don't do it, and it is not for the masses. It's just not. And you know, I have to do it irreverently. I have to do it, you know, very gently. I have to do it safely. And not everybody out there who is even teaching this stuff is doing it in a way that I can take in safely. And so and also, like, we spot the real deal when we see it. I mean, people can teach us CPTSD all day and all night and do all this, but you know, are they living it? Like, are they doing the hard thing? Are they setting the hard boundaries? Are they using nonviolent communication? Are they like, it's awful. I also just want to say, it's been reported that this dude was accused of some kind of I don't know, verbal abuse or power and control issues. I don't know what it is. And so and so I was skeptical, not skeptical, hesitant, because I've, you know, of course, I've had this idea of doing this for a really long time, but didn't act on it. And that was one of the reasons. It's like, but I decided, like, this book is still on the New York Times bestseller list every fucking week. People are buying this book. Are they reading it? Are they reading it? Like, why aren't we seeing a sea of healed CPTSD people? Like, what's going on? So that is why, but I just also want to hold the place of one of my, in case you don't know me yet, here's a tool for you. It's we can hold more than one truth at the same time. Like, maybe a year from now, if we find out more bad things from him, I can't take anything from this book anymore, because, difficult to separate the art from, the person from the art or whatever. But for now, my hunch was just to forge forward. And like I said, he obviously, said that I'm paraphrasing everything, allegedly, whatever, but that he disagreed with those accusations. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, why does the body keep the score? Why does it keep what does that even mean? You know what? I don't know what it means, other than intuitively, other than my personal anecdotally, is, and I a lot of CPTSD kids, people with childhood trauma, have chronic illness issues. It's
I have an example, if I
fascinating.
may.
Go right ahead.
Something that happened a few days ago, and it showed me just how visceral it is for the body to keep score. I was having a conversation with my mother one evening, and the TV was playing in the background. And all of a sudden, a movie, an 80s movie, an obscure one that I've never watched, came on. And my reaction was so instantaneous. It was, and so strong. I don't even know the name of the movie. I don't know what happens in the movie. And all of a sudden, I stopped mid conversation and I was asking her, "Are you going to watch this?" She said, "Why?" I told her, "Something tragic is going to happen. Something terrible is and she told me it's a comedy." And she tried to calm me down. She saw just how agitated I became because we were talking. Nothing was wrong. One of the few times when nothing was actually wrong. And I was visibly, very visibly agitated. She tried to calm me down, explain to me the story. I wouldn't have it. And all of a sudden I started crying. I couldn't stop my body from crying.
Wow.
And I couldn't take it. I had to get out of the room. I couldn't handle that movie for one more second. And it was in the few minutes of its beginning. I don't even know what it's about. I don't know what it's called. I know the actor. I've always hated the actor because he's a sexist pig. And I thought that's the reason why, but it could be very possible because of this as well.
Yeah, that's a
And
great example.
I'm too agitated to even try to find out what it is with
And
this.
that's enough. And for me, like, I take yes for an answer. Like, oh, okay, we do have visceral reactions. Like, my body is keeping the score right now with anxiety and perhaps some hypervigilance. One way my body keeps the score. Thank you so much for that example, by the way. I appreciate it. And
My pleasure.
It's a great example to show how we can go from 0 to 100. Like, it's like I was fine and I'm 100% not fine now. And that, so I have migraines. And so that is one way my body, that I see it as keeping the score. But I want to read to you a quote by Jung, which I just landed on, and I truly take it as a synchronicity, because somehow the field knew I was going to teach this class, but this makes complete sense to me. Here's the quote. For what is the body? The body is merely the visibility of the soul, the psyche. And the soul is the psychological experience of the body. So really, it's one and the same thing. And it makes me feel like, I mean, that makes so much sense. It's the same. It's the same thing. And so that's one of the reasons why, like, one of, this is just hitting me, but like I'm dissociative. And so like one of the dissociation is like when your body is physically present, but your mind is somewhere else, in case you don't know that word yet. But like, one of my rules for myself. Oh, P.S. I used to label myself as clumsy. I'm clumsy. No, you're dissociative. When you're not present in your body, you're going to run into shit. I have so many bruises. Like, and they're from just bumping into things. Like, it's just crazy. And fair skin, it's just like, okay. But one of my rules for myself, one of my tools for myself, if I bump into like two things, I have to do well, now I would do a BFF, like, okay, breathe, find my feet, where are my feet? And let me feel in my body. Oh yeah, there I am. There's something weirdly like calming. It almost feels like a little bit of antidote to hypervigilance by feeling your body a little bit. That feels good. So, but I'm realizing now that was my body, that's my body keeping the score with bruises. It's just like, oh, let's see what the score is. Okay. It's 3-0. Okay. So that's the spirit. And I bet you all could come up with your own intuitive explanation of what that means to you. And I always just think of the meme or somebody tweeted, it's like, hey, if my body could quit keeping the score, that would be great. Like, just like, that would be super. But for the body to stop keeping the score means that I'm not here anymore. So we're going to go ahead and allow our body keep the score, and we're going to do something which again, don't enjoy, but work with it. Let's see. So he mentions in the book, let's talk about the book again, that there's 3 avenues to change that actually, quote unquote, palliate, which means make better or comfort, or reverse, ding, 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 we like that one, the damage. One is through medication. Great. We all know, we've all been to a person that would prescribe us something, like, great. So that's something that's beyond the scope of what we're doing here. The other is through giving the body experiences to contradict the helplessness we carry, the rage, or the collapse. So it's giving the body, so it's like, just like we just did. So already you're seeing the BFF tool. That's what we're doing. Like, the BFF tool, is like, we're breathing and we're finding our feet and we're feeling our body. I really want you to do it. Like, whenever I say it, that's a call to do it, and just do it real quick, unless you don't feel safe doing it. And that's then one of my things you'll hear me say in the membership classes is, the only way to do something wrong is not to do it. And also, that is not wrong, because I trust you. I inner guidance. I trust you to what you feel is safe for you or not. So giving the body, so that's an experience of us doing that. Like, we're in this moment. Can we see, like, even though my heart is still probably higher, my heart rate's higher than it normally is, can we see that in this moment we're okay? that we are actually not in danger. We may feel like we're in danger, and there's nothing wrong with us if we feel that way right now. But can we take a moment to say that actually in this moment, I am not in danger, just acknowledging that. So by doing that, even if I feel like I'm in danger, I'm giving myself the bodily experience of, what does he say? That contradicts my feelings of helplessness, my feelings of rage, my feelings of collapse, or my feelings of hypervigilance. Like I'm just giving it a little taste of like, see, like, I think we're okay in this moment. It doesn't mean that we weren't okay a minute ago, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to be okay in a minute, but it just means in this moment, can we see that, and it's not even like the goal of, for me, that goal of that exercise is like, see, you're fine. That's not it. It's just seeing if we can practice giving our body an experience to notice that in this moment it is not being attacked, it is not being shamed, unless the inner saboteur is trying to get in there. It's not, you know, but by another person in this moment. So that's an example of us like making this stuff real. Okay, so the third way that we heal, or what does he say, palliate or reverse these things, is the one that we do here. And that is talking about it, educating ourselves on it, and connecting with others, which is what we're doing here and what I will be doing in my membership classes. Okay, so let's see. A lot of us carry shame for not accomplishing what we know is inside us, and we're frustrated because we repeat the same mistakes. Again, that's not you, that's trauma. That's trauma. That must be a quote from this book that but we have to learn that we can. So that's another experience of giving the body the experience, the body and our self the experience of seeing that we can do a thing and that we can take that in. I taught a whole class on imposter syndrome where it's just like we do a thing, but we're not allowed to act like we did that thing, or not like allowed to own it, and because that's perceived as danger. It was dangerous maybe in our childhood, that to be proud of our accomplishments was, we were being too proud, or we do whatever. But that's what we'll be doing here, is slowly or quickly. Sometimes these things like, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. That's gone. That was easy. And sometimes it's like, oh shit, I'm working on the same thing I've been working on for a long time, but it's getting better incrementally. But a lot of us carry shame for having trauma, and it is not our fault. This is not our fault. But we do carry inside of us a shame monster. Another word for it is inner saboteur. Another word for it, what I like to call it, is it's the thing that makes you feel small and inadequate and not enough and not worthy and all that. That is your internalized trauma voice. That's not actually you. That's your internalized trauma voice. And eventually we'll be talking about, like, it is there to serve us because it helps keep the homeostasis. I know how to walk. I used to know, not this way anymore, but I knew how to walk in the world feeling like I wasn't enough. That piece of cake. Got it. I'm not enough. I have to keep overdoing to prove that I'm enough. Like I knew how to live that life, but to live a life where I think I am enough, disgusting. Not interested. That's too uncomfortable. So for me, I do believe that even those negative thoughts they're maladaptive, but they did serve a purpose. And so I just want you to start hopefully calling, noticing that that's trauma. Trauma is the thing that keeps you hating yourself or keeps you, locked into relationships that aren't serving you anymore or whatever. And it's just about continuing to heal your trauma. Okay. So let's see. Let me just read this and then figure out why I put it here. Van der Kolk's way in. So his way into finding all this out, all the information in our book, is through the study of Vietnam vets. And again, what's so interesting in this Forgotten History chapter in the Trauma and Recovery book is that they were studying shell shock before Vietnam. They were studying all that in past wars. Like, it was a thing that was researched and studied, and the heads of the military did not want to hear it. They're like, no, that's just a mentally ill soldier. It's like, sir, you made him mentally ill by sending him to a war. But anyway, so Van der Kolk's way in is Vietnam vets. And before you say, but I wasn't in a war, so why is this pertaining to me? I wasn't in a war, so theirs is worse than mine or whatever. He says, and she says, for a lot of us, the war began at home. So, one of the things that he discovered with the Vietnam vets, that the war veterans made their lives irrelevant. And in the first class, we'll talk a little bit more specifically about his takeaways from the Vietnam vets, because we're going to be really diving into chapter 1, but that it was about their troops or the fallen ones and all that. So they kind of like outsourced, their life was irrelevant. That's what we did as kids. Our lives were irrelevant. Our self, what are we recovering? Our self. That's what we did. And so that's something that we have in common with the people in the war that he researched. Make ourselves irrelevant by not emancipating dysfunction, toxic family systems, and roles. So I am now going to teach you another tool. It's a tool that I just think it just came to me to teach it here, and it has helped me. And I call it the 3 phases of personal growth. But another thing to call it could be the 3 phases of healing trauma. Because when I made this tool, I made it when I became a therapist and just started noticing how it worked and reflected on my experience, and then just started to notice, and also to engender hope. But now I'm going to refer to Trauma and Recovery, her book, but in chapter 8 called Safety, she says, recovery unfolds in 3 stages. The central task of the first stage is the establishment of safety. And I do think it's really interesting that that's the only thing that I've ever been concerned with. And it's just fun for me to see that validated in literature. Like in my sessions, for me, that's like the most important thing is keeping my clients safe, and noticing that when I feel safe, I thrive more or whatever. But and that's very important to me with this, is keeping everything safe in these classes. So I love it. Makes me feel, see, I can see, because I have a self now, I can take that in as like, you did that, bitch. Okay, the central task, and I'm giving myself in this moment a bodily experience that I don't have to feel helpless, hopeless, or whatever, because I just acknowledge that that's something that I always did. Okay, moving on. And that, my friend, is called modeling. And it's really important for us to model for each other that we're living this stuff. Okay, the central task of this, so the first task is safety. The second central task is remembrance and mourning. And now we're to another reason why this shit is so hard to read. We're not, oh, I'm gonna read a book. Oh no, you're gonna grieve. It's time to grieve. I was reading, my friend and I are in a two-person book club because we're introverts. We were trying to read Pete Walker's other book about feeling, The Tao of Fully Feeling. I got to like I don't know, we did it for weeks and I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this right now. I am not in a place where I can really do this fucking work. And she was like on board next. Like it was really tough. So and that's because like 90% of that book is like, you gotta grieve this. And it's like, it's too hard right now. I gotta move. I gotta do other shit. Like I gotta cook dinner. I can't grieve right now. Like what? You're asking, and then there's that feeling with CPTSD. It's like, if we start crying about this, we'll never stop crying. And that is a rational that is a rational fear, because there is a lot of pain, that daunting feeling. But that's why we want to give ourselves little experiences. And that's why, I have to do this with humor. I have to do it with humor. I have to find the humor in it. Like that all comes very naturally to me. I have to be very irreverent about it. I have to be very, I don't know, dark humor about it, gallows humor about it, like and because it helps me and it gives me a little relief, just a little relief, a little respite from the sheer force of the grief. Heather, what you got?
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this class. You just said something that absolutely hit the nail on the head for why I left off on page like 114 or whatever in this book a few years ago. Because I'm fairly new to this journey. Had only found out CPTSD like I think 3 years ago, and I think found you shortly thereafter. And I really was stacking up the I'm a loser with every book I put aside that I didn't finish. Oh, I'm a loser because of that. Here's proof number 765 of all these self-help books. And I never knew that there would be so much grief that you had to process before you get, because like you, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read this book. I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna buzz through this intellectually.
I'm gonna get so much better. I can't wait to get better.
Right. Oh
this is
God,
fantastic. Oh my God, thank God I found this.
Right. And I started losing strength in my legs on page 1, right? Then you read, I happened to find my trauma, my mother wound. There were some things early on in this book that I was like, holy shit, that's me. And I wasn't ready to see that. I didn't know that, I was abused. I had to have a therapist over a course of months tell me it was abusive. So it was like, I needed to grieve. There wasn't anything wrong with me, and #trauma. So hearing you say, you mean I got to stop and grieve? Yes, you have to, because you can't, the body's keeping the score and she won't be rushed.
She won't be rushed. She won't be
She
rushed.
won't be
I don't know
rushed.
why, but you reminded me that I didn't give anybody fairy dust. So at the beginning, so I think we need it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm so glad that was
thank
helpful.
you.
Okay. Let me
Very
go.
much. No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We need this is hard. This is why, like, if he would appear, I don't know, maybe he could just give me, put some Tinkerbell or some shit in here, like come out every 5 minutes and give me some fairy dust as I'm reading this, I probably would have read it by now. So we need fairy dust. We need, so you get fairy dust, I get fairy dust. Amelie's over there in her cone. She gets fairy dust. She's getting better. That we need a break. We need, I know a tool I'm going to teach on Saturday. We need a break from the sheer force of the pain. Like, we need a break from the dauntingness. We need a little bit of comic relief. We need a little bit of something, because it is serious business. And you know, it's like when we put our drama aside, chaos, toxic relationships, addictions aside, guess what that was covering? Pain, which leads me into the other tool. Some of you, I may have taught this one time before in the class, but it's, if I have, it's been a while. And I call this the oh, hold on, let's read what she says about the third phase. Hold on. First is safety. Second stage is remembrance and mourning. And we don't want to remember. Like, I'm dissociative for a reason. No, thank you. And the central task of the third stage is reconnection with ordinary life, which is what we're doing. So back to the embodied feeling of being alive. So I love it when all the people are lining up with what they're saying and my experience lines up with them. I feel like I can be confident as I move forward. We'll be here just for maybe like 15 more minutes. I'm going over, but that's something you'll find in the membership. I tend to go over. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the 3 phases of healing from trauma. And let's use an example, 3 phases of personal growth, 3 phases of advanced personal growth work. What we're gonna do is we're going to use an example of an alcoholic. So let's say an alcoholic has got the fucking DUI. Oh God, what am I gonna do? My life is ruined. I have to do all this stuff. Okay, so here's the first stage. So the alcoholic says, oh fuck, I gotta stop doing this. I can't do this anymore. Okay, right. So if we were to take away this person's alcohol, that would be very cruel. That would be very, very, very cruel, because they needed it for their trauma. They needed it for their self-medication, right? And so, so what do we do with a quote unquote somebody who has alcoholism when they are like, holy shit, I gotta stop drinking and I have to live my life in a different way? So one of the things that people do is they go to therapy. And one of the things they do when this happens is they go to 12-step meetings. And one of the things they do is start reading books. And one of the things they do is maybe now they're going to sleep, you know, their body's going to be healing, but they're also going to be fucking detoxing for a while. And so it's horrific. This first stage of personal growth fucking sucks. Why though? Why does it suck? Well, because a few reasons. We are not medicated anymore. We're not medicated with the thing that we're used to medicating ourselves. We may be put on other medications that are, you know, are good for us from healthcare providers or whatever. And so we have to face all of this. And at the same time, we're asking to do a ton of new behaviors and a ton of I used to do all this on, you know, I used to self-medicate at home. Now I got to go to a therapist's office. Now I got to go to meetings. Now you want me to buy these fucking books, you know? So can you imagine? And the reason why this phase is so difficult is because you're living the consequences of the shitty life before it. Also, guess what? Now you have to face everybody in your life fucking sober. And you picked these people when you were an active alcoholic. I picked the person I was married to while fully living an eating disorder and CPTSD, unhealed. I picked that person. I said, you're it. Well, guess what? That's not a great pick for me. I was not at a great level of mental health, and I picked somebody on that same level of mental health. And so I have to endure the consequences of all the choices I made while self-medicating or fully unhealed trauma. Worst game of tag ever, same. So, okay, so you see why, if I have never done any trauma work before, and this is the first time I hear about CPTSD, and I buy this book because it was on the bestseller list, and now you're asking me to do all this, and I have no support, like, put it away, like, too much, I can't. Okay, so let's get, so you can see this person, oh, and these new behaviors, let's say going to meetings, but we're giving them tools. We're replacing. So to take away the alcohol would be so cruel, because there's like there's a liquor shaped bottle in their soul. And so we got to replace that, and we replace it with tools and insight and learning and support. So they have a fighting chance. A lot of us, when we tried to heal, like, there was not really a great chance for us, because, I see now, like, I used to beat myself up so much for relapsing with my addiction, that it's like, oh, sweetie. Yeah, and I'm watching all these people like get their year chips and all this, and it's like, oh, they apparently didn't have the same trauma you have, or the same trauma responses you have. And that's how I see it now. It just took more for me. I just needed more, and I didn't understand that. I thought it just needed what they were doing. Anyway, moving on. So this first stage is a shit show, but because we're advanced, we fucking hang in there. And the first time I set a boundary, fell flat on my face. Like, don't know how to do it. Like, oh yeah, great, I'll set a boundary, learn it in therapy, set a boundary. And then when I go to the person, like, I don't know what? Oh, say no, okay, yes. Like, what? How? I don't understand. So this is not a fun time, but there was something in us. There was a little something, probably fairy dust, probably yourself saying, there's something to this. So this is why that classic saying, it gets worse before it gets better. Of course it does. When you think of it this way, it's so obvious. Okay, so then let's say now the person's been in AA for, the other thing that they're living, they have to go to court because they're fucking DUI. Now they have to do all that sober. They have to live the choices they made sober. They have to see their finances, all the money they spent on that shit. Now they have to look at all that fucking sober. Too hard. Anyway, but those who really want it, they keep going. They don't give up. We don't give up. So then we go to the second phase. And so it's still not that great. It's still not that great, but by now that DUI thing fully resolved. You're just, maybe you got to do some stuff with it, but it's not the horrific part. You've straightened out some of your finances. You've dropped some toxic people that you didn't even understand were toxic before. You actually, and also, but now you may be feeling like, oh, I actually don't want to do this career. Like, this career doesn't feed my soul. I made that career choice when I was unconscious. And so, but you're starting to make changes, and you're starting to see these little bits of magic. That's what I call magic. And for me, if I really want to think about what the magic is, it's like getting to experience my authentic self. And I'm not saying she's magic. I mean, I will among friends, but I'm saying that it feels very magical to do that. It feels very magical. Heather.
I heard someone recently call those, because we're always like, we get triggers, and seeing the positive stuff. I've heard people calling those glimmers.
Yes,
Like
I've started to see that
magic,
a lot. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
So we should be looking, or I shoulded myself. We need to be looking at our glimmers and, looking forward to those, because we do wait for the triggers and the waiting for the thing to happen. It's like, wow, noticing and the glimmers. So when you just said that, it was like, oh yeah, the glimmers.
I love
There I
it.
am. There I am.
Yes, exactly. Let me tell you my little asterisk about that. And you may have noticed when you said, I need to, and then you also said, I should. For me, that smacks of like old gratitude training. Like, you're just miserable. Why aren't you looking for your glimmers? Like, I don't want to do that to myself. So how I see it more as is like the glimmers emerge. When
Yeah.
I'm safe, the glimmers can emerge and I can see them. And that's really exciting. That's for me, this. It's like when I start to see it. And another way for me, what the glimmer is for me is a fully embodied experience of being alive, less trauma, but instead of full. And I need tools so I can access those moments where I can experience the glimmer that's there. Like I could be, I truly could be in Oz and fully hypervigilant and miss the whole thing, but that's not my fault. It's not because I'm missing the glimmer um or that I'm you know, like I'm just an unhealed bitch. It's just that the trauma is. So what can I do? What are my tools to get me back? Because I really would love to see the glimmer of it all. So does that make sense? Because I don't want to ruin that for
Absolutely.
anybody. I don't want to ruin that idea for anybody because I think it's awesome, but I don't want to. I would have a tendency. My trauma will do a number on me if I.
So it rides a very fine line. It absolutely
Yes,
does. It rides right on that cusp of who do you think you are?
it does do that
Open your
too.
eye.
It does that too. But
It
also,
does.
like for me, it's very like when because I'm seeing it a lot on social media, which I think is amazing, and it's a great way to think it like, oh, don't worry, like there's also glimmers instead of in addition to triggers. But it's like my inner saboteur is like, you were just at the beach and she's getting her glimmers in and you're not getting it. What's wrong? You know, it can go, my inner saboteur can go very dark, very quick, and it can do glimmer comparing. I'm not interested. So for me, it's more helpful for me, not any, if it's helpful to you, like take it and run with it and ignore everything I'm saying. But for me, what I'm looking for, what has worked for me, is to become more Elizabeth, and I automatically experience the glimmers and still triggers because I have trauma. But yeah, but I love it. Yes. And I love that language now being mixed in with CPTSD recovery. Okay, so, but you can see how, so now I'm living, but here, the reasons why it's good is I'm starting to live the consequences of having this great relationship now with a therapist, and now I've done the steps, and now I'm living, I have fewer resentments. I had a ton of resentments over here. I have fewer resentments. I've unfortunately learned how to ask for help. So my life is a little bit easier because but I still have trauma. Wait, yeah, so those things I'm learning here. So, oh yeah, experiencing the consequence of the good things, but also some of the consequences of the stuff that during this phase, remember those boundaries that I tried to set but couldn't? I'm still trying to clean some of that up here. And so it's not the best. And so here would be using that language. It's like glimmer time, or something that I've been thinking about is CPTSD joy, is finding joy, because and that word is triggering to me too. It's just like, okay, great, but that I have trauma, I have things that are fucked up. I woke up with a migraine this morning. Like, things aren't like as great as I wish they were sometimes, but things are pretty fucking great. And I'm in this moment experiencing joy with you because I'm being Elizabeth and you're being you. And, you know, you've honored me with your time and your presence. And it's glimmering greatly. So then there's this phase here, and this is where I want to live. This is why learning this shit and enduring this phase and this phase is worth it, because I'm free over here. I'm free. I'm able to, I'm Elizabeth than ever. I can tell you, when I taught this tool to a client, what is it now, 14 years ago? Like, I probably didn't know the tool then. I probably figured it out like second or third year. The that I wasn't as, but I was still talking about this because I was some Elizabeth. But I'm even more Elizabeth than when I first taught this tool. So this is even greater for me. So I keep doing this, but sometimes we are alive. We are alive. Therefore, shit is going to continue to go down. We are human. We're going to make mistakes. We are going to experience loss. It's just the cost of being alive. It's just the cost of loving people and animals and places and things and loving structure and loving, like things are going to change. It's just the way that it is. And so I don't go back, but it is a time for me to learn tools. And so this for me is why this is worth it, is I just get to have more time here. And I have so many tools now. So when shit goes down, I know which tool to pull out. And if I don't, I know who to fucking call to help me with whatever tool that I need to pull out for this phase. But I spend most of my time here. Sometimes I don't know about regress, but sometimes I got to go back here to kind of be in a mess or a relapse or something. But it's like the goal is to get my little self back here where I can be free again. But I don't really look at this as regression. Maybe I need to revise my tool now that I know more. But this isn't like, and she lived happily ever after. It's like, no, she got to be more Elizabeth, and you get to be more you, and you get to be more healed, and there's more time in the place. And for those that you have been doing this work for a while, you can see that progress. You can see that, oh yeah, this was not fun. And look at you, you persevered. And look at you, you get more moments here. That looks like psychosis actually, but you get it. So that's my tool that I use. And so and how I use it as a tool is it helps me just remember this exists and why it's worth going through a thing. And in some areas, I know, maybe this is it. Maybe in some areas I'm here, but like learning to give up a new thing that's not serving me anymore, or a new purpose, it might hurt for a while. Like, having to leave somebody or to, let go of a relationship. I might find myself here, and it's like, what tools, I'm a fuck up. What's trauma? That's not trauma. I'm the fuck up. Like, what's wrong with me? And also taking into consideration, as Pete Walker calls them, emotional flashbacks, or as Carl Jung calls them, complexes. Like, that doesn't mean we're immune from those here. Also, we live in a collective. Like, bad things can happen in the world, and we can get sucked into some kind of social media thing or upsetting thing, and we can get distracted. But what do? We use tools. Let me say my saving thing is my tools. When I don't know what to do, I reach for a tool. And that is the thing. And I have power over that. And that is the thing that we're going to try to collect from this book. And I guess what it is, and I never thought of this before, but that's what tools do. It helps me come back to Elizabeth, just like the BFF thing, helps me come back to myself, helps me let me get out of the fog, let me get out of the trauma brain, let me get into like problem solving mode, and let me get back to remembering that I have a way out of this, because my brain is going to always want to revert back to being compromised. But the more and more that I heal, the less and less I see that happening. But it still happens. Like I said, my body kept the score this morning when I woke up with a migraine, and I was like, today, really? Like, what? And the body said, yeah, absolutely, of course. And of course today. So does anybody have any, let me go ahead and put in, if you'd like to, I will say that my explanation on my website for the secret membership is not great. Again, I'm really good at this shit. I'm really good at personal growth work. I'm not really that great at marketing myself, but I'm learning. And let me just put this in the chat. This is a link if you would like to sign up to join my clerical error about when this class was on Instagram. And so I'm going to be talking about CPTSD and the loss of self. I'm going to be talking about CPTSD and intimate relationships. I'm going to talk about the annihilation. This is all from chapter 1 of The Body Keeps the Score. Annihilation of self-trust and the ways we numb to survive. And which again, all leads us to the number one thing that trauma does to us, which is at the root of the root of the root of trauma. And the clue of the clue of the clue of how to heal is trauma is the thief of the self. And so that's all we're working on, to see if we can get our little selves back. And so we'll start that journey on the 8th. If you want to wait to join, these classes will be, this class will be on my website for free. So if you want to revisit it, because this was a lot, you're very, very welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Your kind words are really, really glimmers for me, fairy dust for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel seen. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So the classes are recorded, and then the link will be sent out. And I'm also working getting the videos archived on a membership site, so you can go visit them whenever you want. And I'm also working on getting all the ones that I used to have again back to a place where if you wanted to go watch them, that you could, because there's a lot of really great classes on there that I've taught in the past that deal with a specific piece of healing the trauma. So yes, the classes begin on the 8th. That could just be basically a continuation of this class. If people, it won't be a repeat of this class. If somebody has missed this and comes on the 8th, I'm not going to rehash all of this. This is for you, its own class, and they can come back and watch it. So I don't need to do that. But yeah, at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything that you want to say to me before we leave? I just want to say thank you. Thank you also. Oh, Heather, hi.
I was just going to say thank you. I did notice there was a question about, will this class for this book be on Saturdays, or will it be on Wednesdays sometimes?
This class will always be on a Saturday. It will always be on a Saturday, and the Saturday classes are always recorded. And I'm planning on doing, my wish hope is that I will be doing a free class every month, and those will probably be on a Wednesday or another weekday. So if you don't have the finances right now for to join the membership, that's totally fine. Like just I'll teach something else, and when I teach the class, it'll probably be piggybacking on what we've learned before, but it will be new information. So if that doesn't feel right for you to do the membership or whatever, you can look for the next free webinar on this, or free class, or whatever you want to call it. And so I'll be picking up wherever the last class left off, because I don't really want to repeat information. I'll just want to, I don't want anything to get stale for anybody, but we can always ask questions about things I've taught in the past. Hi, Bonnie. Yes.
Hey, thank you so much. Just a quick heads up in case you didn't see it in the chat, 'cause you probably didn't. The Squarespace, the click through isn't working. It's failing on the member, like not on your end, but on the merchant's end. So I just wanted to let you know, because I was trying to sign up for the membership.
Oh, the link I just sent isn't working?
No, I mean, it'll get you to that, which is your page. And then when you click through the pay now, the Squarespace or whatever the heck it is kicking. Just wanted to let you know.
No, it takes a village. It takes a bunch of us
Hey, I
to
can help
make
you.
it
I'm
through.
gonna circle back with you on some stuff because I actually used to work in IT as a consultant, and there's some quick little things I'll just give you for free for giggles. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. No, thank
Yeah,
you for.
I tried too, and it couldn't get, it just said service unavailable. So,
Yeah, it's on there, not
Of
hers.
Of course, of course. These things happen. So what will I do? So you're here because most likely you're here because you've signed up for my email. If you haven't signed up for my email,
I did that. I got that one covered. And actually, my best friend snuck this over to me. Like, she's like, wait, this is in 5 minutes. I can't go. Do you want to go? I'm like, hell yeah, I do. So here
awesome.
I did sign up for the membership. And like I said, I'll circle back with you. And yeah,
That
we'll square.
sounds great. That sounds great. And I guess what I was meaning is that's a way that I can communicate, hey, the link is fixed or whatever, like I can communicate because you were on the email list. So thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. That
Hey.
was very sweet. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you
Someone
for
was
being
asking
here.
something.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the
Um,
last thing, the recording for this one will be in an email link. They want to know that.
I will I will go ahead and send the email link of this class in a newsletter. I'll just stick it in there like, hey, if you're interested in seeing that class, it's up on my website. I'll send that in the newsletter. And then I will send, I will also put in, but this will be available on my website. So it'll be free and you'll have access to it again. So look for the newsletter. There's one going out today, I think, or tomorrow, and it won't be in there because we just did this class, but it'll be in next Wednesdays. So, and I will make sure that link is fixed, the membership link is fixed for Saturday. So anybody who wants to come can come. Thank you so much. Love you all. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. Love you. Bye. You're very, very welcome. My pleasure. Bye.